once again, thank you so much for that. That was a nice. See, we've brought everybody up after that, and we're ready to go to our last story.
Okay.
Which is not quite a story. Jennifer, I'm always sincerely careful at going after local journalists because it closes doors, and I get that. Brandi Kruse has been cringeworthy and hair ripping out worthy for me ever since. Quite frankly, I think that she had this incident back in the early days of CHOP when it was called Chaz that has given her a lot of unprocessed PTSD, and she's not channeling it in maybe the best ways. And not only do we have this video clip that we're going to play, which I'm going to unpack and what's just going to be in a 911 emergency old school malcontent rant, but she doubled down this afternoon on her Facebook page with a post of, in red and big white letters, how do you define, quote, patriot, unquote? And the comment section was as obnoxious as you can imagine. And so one has to wonder, when somebody calls themselves a journalist and they blow open dog whistles like that, what are they really after? And with that, I'm going to roll this clip.
It's time we have an honest conversation about some people who claim to be advocates for the homeless. People who show up to protest and try to stop homeless camps from being swept, or people who get the homeless hotel rooms only to stop paying for those rooms to make a point about housing for all. It's time that we just say what is true. Those people don't actually care about the homeless. They only care about pushing a political agenda and have no concern for the consequences their actions might have for those who they claim to care about so much. Why else would you fight to keep people at Seattle's Cal Anderson Park? A homeless camp where there were reported rapes, where a woman was murdered. Why would you fight to keep people in those conditions?
That's as far as I'm going to roll with that clip. She goes on for about another 2.5 minutes. I think you've gotten enough of a taste of that. One of the first things that jumped out at me is she uses phrases like those people, which is a dehumanizing statement and a dog whistle in itself. Brandi, I want to make it really clear. We here at Malcontent News, we covered two of those stories deeply. We covered the sweep at Cal Anderson, and we covered the Olympia Red Lion story. I want to make it very clear to you, nobody wants to live that way. Nobody is advocating for people to live that way. But Brandi, if you go back to our coverage where we interviewed a person that had recently gotten out of Cal Anderson Park and had found shelter for himself, he went on an epic 9-minute rant that people like you should watch. Because one of the things that he said as he looked into our camera was, because we have nowhere else to go. And what is really reprehensible where you bring up Cal Anderson Park is your own TV station, because we've quoted the number, identified that of the people swept out of Cal Anderson Park, less than 20 were even given temporary housing. Brandi, that's your own TV station that released that information. So you're not even reading off of the playbook that you have on there. But they've got nowhere else to go. We covered the Red Lion story, Brandi. We covered it twice. We covered it on January 1, and then we covered it again on February 3rd. It's on our website, Malcontent News. You can find it either just doing a search, Olympia Red Lion, or going into the local section and scrolling until you get to February 3rd. We cover a lot of local stories, among them the Unhomed. And in that story, we provided a unbiased, fair, and accurate assessment of the situation that happened in the Red Lion. Oh yes, Brandi, you are right. People that call themselves homeless advocates, brought approximately 35 people into that Red Lion, only paid for the hotel for one day. You are 100% correct in that. But Brandi, in your screed yesterday, you left a lot of facts out. So I'm going to drop some information for you. Facts that, once again, are available in the actual journalism that we do. Fact number one. Basically, every person who actually works with the Unhomed roasted that action as not advocating for the Unhomed. And I know right now that some of Brandi's followers, when they watch this, are going to go, ha, I got him. He just admitted she was right. But you know what, Brandi? You ignored the fact that SWAT teams went in and threw multiple flashbang grenades in enclosed hotel rooms. These are weapons that the Seattle Police Department doesn't even use in protests anymore. They threw them at people in hotel rooms in the Red Lion. And then the SWAT team tried to deny it. And you know who blew the cover on it? The journalists at the press conference who were there when the sweep was going on, and you weren't there, who hammered the press conference until the police went and admitted, yeah, we might have thrown some bang bangs in there. The other thing that you ignored, Brandi, in your story, in your screed, and finding the people to interview to go, you left out the fact that children, little children, were escorted at gunpoint out of the Red Lion Hotel by SWAT teams. How do we know it? Because the cameras caught it. Both the cameras of the independent media and the cameras of the real media that you allegedly represent. Yeah, I am fired up over your latest screed because all your screed is blowing tired dog whistles of fear and fear the homeless, and they're out to get you and they're coming to get you. And you know something that you didn't offer up, Brandi? You didn't offer up one solution, but you threw lots of big bloody chunks of red meat to your audience for them to lap up like hungry dogs and nod their heads like Rush Limbaugh followers who used to be called ditto heads. Yes, the 160,000 followers that you have on Facebook. I'm not bringing up that number, but when you got to 160,000, you did. You were very proud of the number of followers you had, which to me says that you're just a clout chaser. You know, Brandi, it's time for you to stop pretending you're a journalist. You created The Divide as a vehicle for people from opposing sides to come together and to discuss and maybe find common ground. You know what, Brandi? I found more common ground between a chud, a police officer, homeless advocates that you trashed out, and people that work in mutual aid than you have found in the last year. Because they all agreed on the same thing. They agreed that the problem wasn't the unhomed people, the rapists and the murderers, and why would you want them to live this way, be afraid? They all agreed that the problem was the city of Seattle and city leadership and the homeless advocates that you actually advocated for that only provide temporary solutions because there is a $1 billion with a B dollar a year gravy train, and woo, they don't want to give it up. The real reality is, if we coordinated that $1 billion in an effort and we have the receipts to back it up, we would solve the unhomed problem in Seattle within 18 months. So if you're going to behave like Tucker Carlson or Janine Pirro of Fox News, then just embrace it. But then, if that's who you're going to be, then we have to apply the Tucker Carlson filter to you. And what's the Tucker Carlson filter again? That's right. Not a reasonable person would believe anything you have to say. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments.
I'm just going to say, Liz, she's not a journalist. She's not objective. She sits on a chair in front of a fucking American flag and plays devil's advocate so she can get followers and craft a little narrative that gets her even more followers. When people do things like journalism, history, sociology, and they want to actually put forth a narrative that is nuanced, they do it objectively. They interrogate multiple sources. They interrogate multiple documents. They go through archives. They conduct interviews. They craft a nuanced narrative and try to display a bigger picture with analysis. They recognize their own biases. She does none of that. She just sits in front of a fucking flag, moderately attractive white woman, playing devil's advocate, spewing hatred, and fawning over the fact that she's got so many followers on Facebook.
And throwing them red meat. And you know, one of the most obnoxious things on her Patriot question, the top answer, right? Because Facebook shows you the most relevant, because Facebook is geared to create outrage. And I have said, and I'll say it again here on the air, I can't wait to get off of this platform one day. And malcontents, we're getting a lot more popular on TikTok. And if we can kind of move the middle on TikTok, the plan is start to back off of this god-awful platform. And TikTok has its own problems, but we'll save that for another day. But one of the most relevant answers, Jennifer, was loving your country no matter what. No, loving your country no matter how wrong it is. That's terrifying to me. That is terrifying to me. A patriot is not a person that loves their country no matter how wrong it is. A patriot is a person who stands up and goes, my country is wrong and I want to fix it. And I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to say no. Because to your point of what's happening on voter rights, where are these people that scream about their rights? Because one of the arguments that they make is, oh, but if they take away one right, they'll just keep taking them away until you don't have any rights at all. Oh, wait a minute. That's actually a load of bullshit, Jennifer. It's just if their rights are taken away. But if you take someone else's rights, I'm cool with that. But you know what? You know, and I know that they're wrong. They will continue to chip away at their rights.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I had a deep dislike of Brandi Kruse prior to joining Malcontent News. So I just want people to know my opinion of her has not been influenced in any way. It's always been rather low.